Welcome to Polygon Bikes.us quick start video. Today we're going to talk you through the assembly of your newly arrived Polygon bikes. You're going to need a couple tools to do this. Needle nose pliers, side cutters, some Allen keys, a knife, some scissors, and if you have it, a torque wrench and a bike stand. The first thing you're going to want to do is inspect the box. Some tears and cracks are going to be normal. If there's severe damage to the box, you're going to want to stop, take a picture of it, and contact your shipper. If the box is severely damaged, the bike also might be damaged. The next thing you're going to want to do is open the box. Using a set of needle nose pliers, remove the staples. When you open the box, inspect the contents of the box to make sure that there's no loose parts and there's no visible damage to your bike. If there's visible damage, again, take a picture and contact the shipper. After inspecting the contents of the box, if there's no severe damage, you're going to want to slide the bike from the box. Everything is zip tied to the frame, so it should come out in one piece. If there's a small box inside the box, make sure not to misplace it. Using the side cutters, you're going to carefully cut the zip tie holding the seat post to the wheel. Now on some bikes, the seat post might already be installed, so you won't have to do this. The next thing you're going to want to do is remove the packing material. In most cases, the masking tape can be broken with your hands. No tools required. Using a 5mm Allen key, loosen the seat collar. The Reverb Stealth seat post comes with internally routed hydraulic line. Be sure to pull it at the head tube when inserting the seat post. Make sure to insert it past the minimum insertion line, and using the 5mm Allen key, tighten the seat collar. Do not over tighten. If you have a torque wrench, tighten to 7 Newton meters. Before putting the bike in the bike stand, I'm going to remove the front wheel. The front wheel is connected with 3 zip ties, and the non-drive side crank arm is between the spokes. First, I'm going to cut the zip ties. Then I'm going to carefully slide the wheel forward off of the crank arm. Next, I'm going to put the bike into the bike stand. Be sure not to over tighten on the seat post. Next, I'm going to remove the packing material. In most cases, you don't need any tools. Avoid using a knife or scissors. It may nick the frame. While removing the packing material, I'm going to inspect the frame and the components for any damage. In the case where there's a zip tie or something tied around the crank arm, I'm going to use a pair of scissors to cut that away. If it's a zip tie, you might want to use side cutters. The packing material on the crank will just slide right off. Next, I'm going to get the bike ready to accept the handlebar. I'm going to remove the packing material from the stem. Using a 4mm Allen key, I'm going to remove the faceplate. Be sure not to lose any of these bolts. Be careful when removing the last bolt. You don't want the faceplate to hit the ground. I'm going to set the bolts and the faceplate somewhere safe. And then I'm going to remove the packing material holding the handlebar to the frame. The handlebar is held using 2 zip ties, and I'm going to cut them with the side cutters. I'm going to be careful not to nick the handlebar or the frame. Once the handlebar is removed, I'm going to remove the packing material. For the handlebars, you can rip the plastic holding the bar or use something to cut it. Just be careful not to nick the bar. When installing the handlebar, you're going to want to rotate it up to the stem. Pay close attention to how the cables enter the frame. Next, you're going to want to install the faceplate. Once the bike is completely built, you're going to want to come back and adjust the handlebar and the controls. So right now, just finger tighten the stem plate. Next, I'm going to remove the rest of the packing material. Once the frame is completely unpacked, inspect the frame again for any damage. Check the components, make sure there's no visible damage. The packing material protecting the fork legs is connected with a zip tie. Use your side cutters to cut it, and then remove the packing material.
Rolling.
Next, I'm going to install the front wheel. First, I'm going to remove the packing material. Again, being careful not to cause any damage. This packing material around the disc is held on with an elastic band. And there's also this little cap protecting the hub. Avoid touching the disc with your fingers, as the oil on your hands can contaminate the disc. Next, you're going to want to remove the spacer between your brake pads. Put it in a safe place because you might need it later. Next, remove the axle by unscrewing it from the fork leg. Next, install the front wheel, making sure that the disc goes between the brake pads. Next, screw in the axle and tighten it down. Next, we're going to install the remote for our Reverb Stealth dropper post. The first thing we're going to do is remove the packing material. Next, I'm going to install the remote for your Reverb Stealth dropper post. With a T25, I'm going to remove the bolt. The remote is actually 3 pieces: the bolt, this spacer, and the remote. I'm going to position the remote on the handlebar away from the shifter. I'm going to put the spacer in. I'm going to put the bolt through the clamp, through the spacer. I'm going to press it all together, and then I'm going to tighten it with the Torx. Depending on the bike that you've purchased, pedals may or may not be included. With this bike, pedals are included in the small box that you saw when we unpacked the frame. I'm going to remove the pedals from the bag. The left pedal is marked with an L, and the right pedal is marked with an R. Before installing the pedal, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the threads. With the pedal, you should be able to install it by hand. And if you feel any resistance, back out and start again. I'm I'm going to install it all the way by hand, and only the last little bit am I going to use a 6mm Allen key to tighten. The left pedal is reverse thread. You're going to want to thread it counterclockwise towards the front of the frame, again by hand. Once the pedal's threaded all the way in, I'm going to use a 6mm Allen key to finish it off. Once you've completed adjustment on your controls, you're going to want to go ahead and look at the manuals that are in the small box. Here there's a manual for your suspension and your reverb. There's also manuals for your brakes and your shifting. When adjusting your suspension, you're going to need a shock pump, and you're going to want to reference the manual to know how much pressure to start with. Before a final adjustment, I'm going to put some air in the tires. If you have a pump like mine, it's going to show how much pressure is in the tires. I'm going to put about 35 psi. The same goes for the front tire. Once the tires are inflated, I'm going to remove the bike from the stand. With the bike out of the stand, I'm going to adjust the saddle height and my controls on the handlebars. First, I'm going to loosen the seat collar. Make sure that the saddle is at full extension, and then adjust the saddle height. Once at a height that you're comfortable with, tighten the seat collar. If you have a torque wrench, you're going to want to tighten the seat clamp to 7 Newton meters. With the bike out of the stand, you're also going to want to adjust your handlebars and your controls. I'm going to use a 4mm Allen key to loosen the bolts on the faceplate. The handlebar has marks on it to gauge where the handlebar should be in the stem. Handlebar setup is a personal thing, so you're going to want to find somewhere that's comfortable for you. Once you've found somewhere comfortable and the handlebar is centered, tighten the bolts down to 5 Newton meters. After you've made these small adjustments, your bike should be ready to ride. If you have any questions, go to our website, Polygonbikes.us. And thank you for supporting Polygon.